Hi there, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I wanted to share a story, and this story is my story. I was about 20 odd years old, I'm not going to disclose my age, in the early 2000s, where I was working for telecoms companies. And for those who are younger, in the year 2000 there was another financial crisis that hit the industry, and companies were making people redundant. So I was one of the individuals who was working in that industry. So the first redundancy that I got, I was made redundant slightly, let's say, in a surprising fashion. We had no idea that the business was suffering. But the manager who made us redundant was very sad, and he was very apologetic. Ultimately, a few years down the line, the business didn't exist anymore. So our redundancy was a precursor to a business that wasn't necessarily well managed. Nevertheless, I was made redundant, told that my job was going to be put into what's called risk. And so I'd been given notice of the fact. This was in London, so I was living in the UK at the time. That was fine. I am a very strong woman, so I took it upon my stride. I was very grateful that I had the opportunity to work in that company, and frankly, it was a fantastic organization. I had thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I then moved in the same industry to a different company. So this is another organization working in the mobile telephone world this time, where I had a fantastic job, an absolutely brilliant job. I could tell you I was the happiest I could be professionally, because it was international. I had to, and I'm a very international person, and I had to manage different operations in Hong Kong, in Australia, in Italy, in Austria, right all over the world. It was fabulous. And I was a person who was managing those operations from afar and doing what's called knowledge transfer and really sharing the resources between the organizations. It was brilliant. But then, one day, out of the blue, redundancy struck again. Now this time, it was even bigger, because it was 75 people in one department were made redundant in the same day. Most of them were actually walked out of the building, a bit like those pictures that you see or you may have experienced, where you're walking out essentially with your box from one moment to the next. Thankfully, I didn't have that walk of shame, as most people refer to it, but I was able to leave the organization after I've packed my things at the end of the day, when I'd spoken to a few of my friends, said goodbye, etc. The reason why I'm telling you this story is at that point, I found it really hard to move on. In fact, it was my second redundancy in 2 years. So I was really hit. I did not expect it at all. And how do I say this? I actually took it quite personally. And this is where I'm going into the reality of what transpired for me that I had no idea was actually in the cards. So when I left that business, I thought, you know what? I'll find something else really quickly. Well, no, I didn't. It took a lot of hard work. I moved into consulting. It was a very difficult time for me. But I've got to tell you what the biggest mistakes I made, and these are them. Number one, I didn't prepare for the eventuality of being made redundant. I was one of those people who was always sure that I would find something else within the same business. Well, sometimes it just doesn't go that way. So that was my number one mistake. I had never been strategic with my career. In fact, until that point, I would argue I would have been a little bit passive. I only took a step when it was time for me to move on, as opposed to constantly being aware that things could change. So that's learning number one. Learning number two is I had never even thought about creating my reputation. So who knew me? Practically nobody. People who I worked with knew me, yes, and they remembered me and were still in touch. But outside of that environment, no. So those two learnings for me are really what have fueled me to build the transformation focus of career transformation, reboot, rebuild, reconquer. Why? Because I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. And so what I focus a lot on is to build a community of people who know that they will likely during COVID-19 have to shift, prepare themselves for every eventuality and be strategic. So hopefully this has inspired you slightly. Please share this video out. I am not here to depress you. I'm here to share the message that if this has happened to you, there's something that you can do about it. You can avoid it happening again, and you can really take the reins of your career. Join me in the transformation tribe community and feel free to be in touch. So look forward to staying in touch with you. All the best, and thank you so much for being here.